In the vast expanse of a barren desert, where the night sky shimmered like a blanket of stars, a man named Brow found himself in the midst of a journey that would change his life forever. Brow was a lone explorer, hardened by years of wandering across uncharted planets, mining rare minerals to survive. A middle-aged man with scars that told stories of past trials and a gaze that reflected both experience and humility. He had seen much, but still carried a spark of curiosity. That night, as he set up camp beside his trusty ship, Perseverance, his attention was drawn to a glimmer on the horizon. A bright, almost blinding light streaked across the sky and ended with a thunderous crash that shook the ground beneath his feet. Without hesitation, Brow started his rover and headed toward the impact site, driven by curiosity and an instinct he couldn't ignore. He found a smoldering crater surrounded by flames. At its center lay a jagged metallic object, writhing as if alive. Accustomed to encountering the unknown, Brow cautiously approached. That's when he saw her, a female figure slowly emerging from the wreckage. Her glowing skin reflected the dancing flames around her. Their eyes met. Hers were large, deep blue, and something inside him ignited. Without hesitation, Brow stepped into the fire, navigating through the burning debris. The creature seemed disoriented and weak, barely able to stand. With a tremendous effort, he lifted her into his arms and carried her out of the flames. As he did, he noticed her skin emitted a soft glow, shielding him from the heat. Once they were safe, he gently set her down and offered water from his flask. She looked at him with gratitude mixed with distrust. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but filled with sounds he had never heard before. Brow tried to reassure her with gestures, showing he meant no harm. Understanding his intentions, she cautiously touched his forehead with her fingertips. In that moment, Brow's mind was flooded with images and emotions. He saw distant worlds, advanced civilizations, and an encroaching darkness that consumed everything in its path. He also saw himself, his face filled with determination, as if he were part of something far greater than he could imagine. Despite the shock, Brow knew he had to act quickly. This being, both fragile and powerful, needed help. He carried her back to his ship, where he used his medical equipment to check her vital signs. The data defied logic. Her body didn't follow the usual laws of biology. Yet, one thing was clear. She was badly injured and needed time to recover. As he worked to stabilize her, Brow noticed something strange. The ship's communication system, which had been dead for weeks, suddenly came to life. Panels that had long been dark now glowed with intricate patterns and symbols, as if they had a life of their own. Then he realized her presence had changed not only his ship, but reality itself. Suddenly, a deafening noise shook the Perseverance. Brow looked out the window and saw several lights rapidly approaching from the sky. These weren't stars or meteors, they were ships, and they clearly didn't come in peace. The woman opened her eyes, now glowing brighter than ever, and looked directly at him. Her voice, now almost flawlessly speaking Spanish, said with desperation, "They're coming for me, but we're not alone." Brow felt a chill run down his spine. An inner sense told him he was facing a threat beyond his imagination, but he also knew there was no turning back. From the moment he stepped into the fire to save this mysterious woman, his life of solitude and routine had changed forever. Now their fates, and perhaps the fate of the entire universe, were intertwined. He started the engines and prepared the ship for an emergency takeoff as the unknown vessels closed in. Brow glanced at the woman once more. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but something inside him told him he had done the right thing. As the Perseverance roared to life, Brow felt a surge of adrenaline he hadn't experienced in years. The enemy ships loomed closer against the backdrop of flickering stars, and with each passing second, the tension grew. But deep within his consciousness, something new began to awaken, a strange connection between him and the alien woman. "Who are they?" Brow asked, frantically working the controls. The woman, now seated at the main console, looked at him with a mix of guilt and resolve. "They are the Void Hunters. They pursue me across countless systems, hunting for what I carry. But they're not just after me. They want everything. If they capture me, they'll open the door to their ultimate victory." Brow didn't fully grasp her words, but he felt their weight. Something immeasurably greater than himself was at stake. The woman reached out to the control panel, and in that instant, the ship's systems filled with glowing codes and intricate patterns, as if they were following her thoughts. "What are you doing?" Brow asked, watching as the ship responded to her strange energy. "I'm preparing the Perseverance. It's strong, but it needs to become something more for what lies ahead." Suddenly, the cabin walls trembled with an unknown vibration. The screens displayed schematics Brow couldn't understand, but he felt his ship changing, evolving. The engines roared with new, unfamiliar power, as if fueled by energy that defied the known laws of physics. Before he could say anything, an energy beam shot past the Perseverance, narrowly missing them. Brow jerked the controls, dodging the attack as alarms filled the cabin. The alien woman looked up and extended her hands toward the windshield. "Trust me," she said with a calmness that sharply contrasted with the chaos. In that moment, the enemy ship that had just attacked them suddenly powered down, frozen in space as if dead. "How did you do that?" Brow asked, struggling to maintain control of the ship. "I'll explain later," she replied firmly. "Right now, we need to escape. If we reach the Singularity 7 portal, we can leave the system and find safety." "The portal?" Brow asked skeptically. "And how do you propose we survive long enough to reach it? They've surrounded us." She looked at him intently, and her eyes flashed with light. Brow suddenly felt an inexplicable calm, as if a voice in his mind assured him he wasn't alone in this battle. "Because you're no longer alone," she said. "I'm here with you." In that instant, her hands rested on his at the controls, and everything changed. The ship, which had once merely obeyed his skills and experience, now responded to his deepest instincts and thoughts. The connection between them deepened, and together, they began to pilot the Perseverance as it were a living organism, dodging enemy attacks with inhuman precision. In the distance, a massive portal began to form, shimmering with multicolored light, as if following the rhythm of a cosmic melody. But the Void Hunters weren't about to retreat. One of their lead ships moved forward, blocking the path to the portal. "Surrender the fugitive," a threatening voice echoed from its hull. "There's no need for further destruction." Brow clenched his teeth and looked at the woman, meeting her gaze, which was filled with pain and resolve. "We can't stop," she said. "If they capture us, everything will be lost." In that moment, Brow made a decision that would determine not only his fate, but the fate of the entire galaxy. "Then we'll fight," he replied, and a spark of defiance lit his eyes. The woman nodded and, for the first time since they met, smiled genuinely. "You won't regret this. Together, we can stand against them." The air in the cabin seemed to charge with energy as the ship's systems reached peak power. The engines roared, and the enemy ships closed in for the final confrontation. But for the first time in a long time, Brow felt not fear, but hope. The battle was just beginning, but one thing was clear. The Perseverance had never been stronger, and neither he nor his mysterious companion intended to give up without a fight. As Brow focused on the Void Hunter's flagship, he felt the ship pulsate as if it were alive. The Perseverance, once just a reliable tool, had become something more, something unique. The Singularity 7 portals shimmered in the distance, but every moment felt like an eternity as the Void Hunters closed in with deadly precision. "Prepare yourself, Brow," the alien woman warned, her voice more serious than ever. "They're activating their primary weapon. If we don't stop it, even the portal won't save us." "What weapon?" Brow asked, gripping the controls tighter. The answer came before she could speak. From the center of the flagship, a massive energy cannon began to charge, its dark glow consuming the light of nearby stars, as if devouring reality itself. A chill ran down Brow's spine. He had never seen anything like it. "It's a matter disintegrator," she finally said. "Its energy destroys any physical form within hundreds of kilometers. If they fire, nothing will remain." "Great," Brow muttered sarcastically. "Just another ordinary night for me." The alien woman looked at him intently, and in the next moment, Brow's mind was flooded with images, a stream of knowledge, tactics, and a deep connection to the ship he could never have imagined. The Perseverance was no longer just a machine. It had become a weapon, a tool for something far greater. "I can enhance the ship's abilities," she said, "but I need you to guide it. This will be like flying with the power of thought." You must trust me completely. Do I have a choice? Brow asked, trying to mask his nervousness. No, she replied with such sincerity that he almost laughed. With a restrained nod, Brow closed his eyes, allowing connection between them to deepen. The woman placed her hands on the control panel, and in an instant, everything changed. The cabin disappeared, and Brow felt as if he were floating in space, sensing the warmth of distant stars and the icy void between them. The Perseverance moved with impossible speed, leaving a trail of bright light as it weaved between the void hunters. There! Brow shouted, pointing to a weak spot in the flagship structure. The woman extended her hands, releasing another energy pulse. The beam struck the energy core of the disintegrator, causing an explosion as bright as a miniature sun. The shockwave rocked the Perseverance, but Brow maintained control, navigating through the chaos with inhuman precision. The Void Hunters paused, but only for a moment. Their battle formations quickly reorganized, and a swarm of small fighters emerged from the flagship's hangars, moving like hungry insects. They won't back down, Brow muttered, feeling sweat drip down his forehead. And neither will we, the woman replied. Suddenly, an unexpected signal penetrated the Perseverance, an encrypted message filled with unknown patterns. Brow couldn't understand it, but the woman recognized it instantly. It's a distress signal, but not from them. It's from my people. Your people? Brow asked, stunned. So you're not alone? She nodded, her eyes glowing with a mix of hope and anxiety. The Void Hunters are after me not just for what I know, but for what I carry. Within me lies a key part of an ancient technology that can save us all. But I can't activate it alone. I need to find the others. Others like you? Brow asked, dodging another barrage of fire. Yes, there aren't many of us, but together we can stop the Void Hunters. They're after me because I'm the last piece they need to activate their ultimate weapon. If they succeed, even the portal won't save us. Brow understood. The scale of this conflict was far greater than he had imagined, but there was no turning back. Something inside him told him he had found his purpose. Where are the others? He asked. The woman looked toward the portal, which was now very close, in the Heisei system. But first, we need to pass through the portal. It's our only chance. Brow nodded, feeling resolve fill him with each passing second. The Void Hunters continued their assault, but he knew he couldn't lose. With her help, the Perseverance had become more than just a ship. It was a living embodiment of hope. As he accelerated toward the portal, with enemy ships closing in, Brow prepared for the most dangerous jump of his life. His fate, and perhaps the fate of the entire galaxy, depended on his success. But one thing was clear. This story wasn't over yet. Brow felt the pressure of the moment in every cell of his body, but there was no room for doubt. The Void Hunters surrounded them. The Singularity 7 portal loomed ahead, and he knew that more than just his life was at stake. His mind was connected to the ship, to the alien woman, and somehow to the entire universe. The Perseverance, transformed by her energy, was their last chance for survival. As they raced toward the portal, the Void Hunter's flagship fired a massive energy beam, slicing to the void of space like a blade. Brow saw the flash and, for a moment, felt time slow down. His instinct screamed that dodging was impossible, but in that moment, the woman's voice echoed in his mind. Don't stop. Trust me, we are one now. Before he could respond, a brilliant light filled the cabin. Her body emitted such a bright glow that it seemed to merge with the ship. The Perseverance was enveloped in an energy field that absorbed the beam, saving them. But there was no time to think. The portal was just seconds away, and the Void Hunters continued their relentless assault. I'll open it, she said, her voice echoing like 1,000 voices at once. But when I do, you'll have to make a choice. What choice? Brow asked, maneuvering between the attacking fighters. When we pass through the portal, there will be no turning back. But it also means my mission, my purpose, will be complete. The choice is yours to continue or leave it all behind. Brow looked at her. His mind was filled with questions, but something inside him told him this moment was more important than he could comprehend. He silently nodded and steered the ship toward the center of the portal. Around them, swirling lights began to spin, and he was engulfed by a dizzying speed. Suddenly, a blinding light filled everything. The portal consumed them, and the surrounding space transformed into an endless spiral of colors and shapes that defied all logic. Brow felt his body dissolve and reassemble in a fraction of a second. The ship stopped moving, and when he opened his eyes, a completely new world lay before them. A massive asteroid field stretched out, each asteroid emitting a soft glow. At its center floated a giant structure, a cosmic temple built from materials that seemed alive. The alien woman took a deep breath, and her eyes glowed with a power Brow had never seen before. "We're here," she said. "This is the sanctuary of Heisei. The others are waiting here, and here it will all end." Before Brow could respond, a dozen ships emerged from the shadows of the asteroid field. But these weren't Void Hunter ships. They were majestic, their hulls covered in glowing symbols that seemed to respond to the woman's energy. A signal came from one of the ships in an unknown language, but Brow understood it as clearly as if the words were spoken directly into his mind. "Welcome, Aria. And you, human, you've done more than we could have hoped for." Brow looked at the alien woman, now knowing her name, Aria. She smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "The Guardians," she explained. "My people, we've been hiding from a Void Hunters for centuries, but now, thanks to you, we have a chance." The Guardian ships began to form a protective barrier around them, but at that moment, as if sensing the change, the Void Hunters appeared at the edge of the system. Their fleet was larger than ever, and behind them loomed the colossal shadow of their flagship, a fortress the size of a moon, armed with the power to destroy an entire system. "We can't win this," a voice from one of the Guardians echoed in the mental channel. "Their weapon, it can destroy us in this place." Aria turned to Brow, her expression serious but warm. "There's one last option, Brow. The only way to stop them for good, but it will require more from you. The connection we share, I can transfer all my energy to you. You'll become something more than human, capable of fighting them. But if you agree, there's no turning back. You'll become a bridge between my people and yours." Brow looked at her, understanding what it meant. All his life, he had felt alone, without purpose beyond survival. But now, with the entire galaxy balancing on the edge of catastrophe, with Aria and the Guardians looking to him with hope, he had no doubts. "Do it," he said firmly. "If it's necessary, I'm ready." Aria smiled, and a glowing tear rolled down her cheek. She extended her hands to Brow, and the cabin was filled with blinding light. He felt a powerful wave of energy surge through his body, changing him. He was no longer just a man. He had become something new, a fusion of human essence and Aria's power. With a fierce thrust, the Perseverance blazed like a rising star in Brow, now filled with Aria's energy, directed the ship straight into the heart of the Void Hunters' fleet. The final battle was not just for him, not just for the Guardians, but for the future of the entire galaxy. As he charged into the heart of darkness, Brow knew that no matter what happened, he had found his place in the universe.